Hello everyone, my name is Steve Mortillo, and I served in Iraq from March 2004 until February of 2005. I'd like to share my story with everyone here today, and I'd like to start by thanking the veterans who've come out to support us here. It's meant a lot to see so many vets show up and really take care of their own. My troop was awarded the Draper Award for best troop in the division, in the 1st Infantry Division. And that came as no surprise to me at the time. I had the privilege of serving under some very honorable, disciplined, and totally adept leadership in my immediate, non-commissioned officer corps and my immediate platoon. They're some of the most squared away and honorable people I think I'll ever meet in my life, and I'll never forget, the camaraderie that was shared and the tough times we all went through together. I remember before we left for Iraq, standing in formation, and my commander at the time came forward and said, I want everyone to take a moment, and I want you to look to your left and look to your right. And I'm not going to be able to say that everyone that you see to your left and your right will come back, but we're not going to leave anyone behind. At the time, it wasn't very real to me. I kind of looked around the platoon and I said, if there's a group of guys that could make it back, without taking casualties, this would be the one. Yeah, I was wrong. I remember we got there, all our vehicles were pretty much in working order. We had spent some time into the maintenance of those, and we started running our missions in Iraq, doing what's called presence patrols through Ad-Daluya. And I guess we would be putting some considerable wear and tear on our Bradley fighting vehicles that we rolled in. Around April, the violence in my area started picking up. When we got there, we had experienced a time of relatively little contact. There wasn't too much going on. People were still in that phase, of wondering what we were doing there and trying to, see how it was going to manifest itself, the occupation. As soon as the violence started picking up, we started getting mortared. It was pretty regular. We started taking fire from RPGs, IEDs, and it's stressful. You're in a situation where you're rolling down the road, and at any time, the ground beneath you can just totally disintegrate, and you could find yourself, dead or worse, wounded. I started noticing that there was some shortages in some of our equipment, especially track. Now, track is the equivalent of, I guess, what tires would be on a car. It's metal track that's linked together with rubber padding that's designed to, cut down on the wear and tear on paved surfaces. We were receiving shortages, and it was putting a lot of wear on our tracks. And eventually, one night, one of the tracks in my platoon broke, and the vehicle flipped on its side. And luckily, no one was hurt. Amazingly, no one was hurt. That's 32 tons rolling over. It can do a lot of damage. And it kind of came as a surprise to me to see shortages and things when you see, the contractors on your base. They would show up, oftentimes in the morning, hungover, getting paid 4 times the amount as you, and you're out there, experiencing shortages in some key equipment. And I don't think that there's much of a doubt where the money's going, because it's not going to the military. And that was really frustrating for me. Was just, for my personal morale at the time, was watching people in safer situations, kind of, real gung-ho, but never leave the base, and you know, I don't think that I think it's you know, it's disrespectful to ask someone to be there for money, and, you know, people that are going to say, you know, whatever happens, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to Charlie Mike, and have someone who could just quit at any time, and, you know, making money hand over fist while you're experiencing shortages. You know, it's frustrating. And after April, around August time frame, I got my leave to go, or actually around July. I got my leave to go on R&R. I was one of the earlier people to go on R&R, and you know, I went back and I was telling people, you know, back home my story, and when I got back, I'll never forget this. You know, I was in the reception area, and one of my friends pulled me aside and said, you know, while you were on R&R, one of the members of your section, the platoon leader of your platoon, was hit in the face with shrapnel from an IED. And, you know, I knew the person. He's someone who I had done multiple missions with, and, you know, the first thing you say is, I mean, the first thing everyone says, I guess, is, you know, stop lying to me. I don't want to hear that. You know, it was hard for me to accept the fact that he was wounded, and as the story progressed, I found out that he was pretty critical. He had lost, you know, he had took some pretty serious damage, and the other members of my section, while I was on R&R, had attended to his wounds and initially saved his life for a period of time. I mean, you come back and you just start, you know, there's this feeling of guilt, I guess, you know, that while you were living it up back in the States, one of your comrades got hit, and it was, you know, that was our platoon leader. He was a good platoon leader, and he, you know, he served his men well, and he had a lot of respect from us, and it was a hard hit to our platoon. 2 weeks after that, or I guess it was 2 or 3 weeks after that, again, I was woken up in the middle of the night to inform me that another member of my section had been killed by an IED. And, you know, again, they woke me up, and I said, you know, quit lying to me, that's not true. It was hard to accept that we had just lost 2 people, you know, from my section in less than a month. He had hit an IED, and the Bradley burned to the ground, totally destroying the vehicle. And yeah, I mean, it's so, well, casualties started picking up, you know, in that area after that time. The pace of operations started picking up. You know, we started putting a lot more wear and tear on the vehicles. Vehicles started going down. I think at some point there was only like 2 or 3 vehicles from my platoon that was online. We were trying to get them in and out of maintenance as soon as possible, but, you know, when you're doing, you know, 6 hours on and 8 hours off, and in that 8-hour time, you have to pull maintenance on your vehicle, which, depending on the particular damage or wear and tear, can be hours, and then, you know, clean your weapon and go to sleep in that 8-hour time period. You know, you do your best to try to maintain vehicles, you know, but eventually they break after prolonged periods of time. I remember a particular Operation Hallelujah Sunrise. And when we were in Kuwait, we were told not to set patterns, that it was a really bad idea that the enemy would know where you would be the next day, so that they could plan on how to ambush you and how to attack you. And it's very hard to prevent against casualties in situations like that. It's hard to, you know, constantly, at all times, see everything, from up to it and as far away from, 300 meters in a 360-degree radius. So we were ordered to do these static checkpoints, which is the same spot in town over and over again. And, we didn't receive any contact for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then in one day, we received indirect fire, and several people in my troop were wounded in that, including my medic who was hit in the leg. I remember, after that, some of the operations that were coming out were, they weren't surgical, I'll just put it that way. The intelligence that we were getting oftentimes seemed to be based on just firsthand accounts from one Iraqi. Oftentimes it would turn out to be a dispute, and someone would come to the American forces and tell them, oh, so-and-so, he makes bombs, he does this, he does that, and out comes the cavalry, literally, and knocks this guy's door in. House raids like that were very commonplace, and we would often sweep entire neighborhood areas of people coming up with absolutely nothing. There's no doubt in my mind that looking back on it now, that kind of contributed to the violence in my area and, led to an increase of casualties eventually. The intelligence, there were raids that we did with good intelligence that netted people, and that was every once in a while. Most of the times we did that with, small special operations detachments, and then there was, raids that we would just get handed down. And for example, one time we got the order to raid a bomb-making factory, is what it was reported as, and we pulled up and, I think, you bring several vehicles and helicopters and everything like that. It's pretty intimidating to someone who is experiencing it. And we get in the house, and it's one guy, and the entire building is totally and absolutely empty. And the guy is a painter who's been working on the building, which obviously smells like fresh paint. So, we rarely would get someone, with weapons or with any kind of proof of guilt. In December, my second platoon leader was shot, and after that, we didn't get another replacement. We were sent on a patrol with limited personnel. People had been taken from our patrol, if I remember correctly, to do what's called kitchen patrol or washing pots and pans. Another thing that, again, there's contractors on my base, and we're going on missions shorthanded. This instance, it was myself, a captain, a medic, and one other NCO on a dismounted patrol, and we ran into an ambush that was set up for a log pack. We should have had more people that day, and due to the increased casualty rate, and there were replacements that would come in and be there for 2 weeks and get hit and go. One guy got hit by a sniper, and after I got back from Iraq, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, and I remember just this feeling like, I told myself that after I got through this, I would be cool, everything would be okay, and, just get through this time, I would say, and just make sure everyone, comes home. And, I was lucky enough to have a lot of good people watch my back. And, I'll never forget the things that happened over there. I think about them every day. And I hope wholeheartedly that the American people can understand the impact this occupation is having on the United States military. And I hope that people really wish to educate themselves about the true nature of combat in Iraq and the effect it has on our military, because it's I mean, it's tearing us apart. And, you know, in closing, I'd just like to say, you know, to those who would judge me for coming up here and sharing my experiences with the American people, do so, because I've made my peace with what I have to do for this country over many sleepless nights. Thank you.